Hello, mobsters. Welcome to episode 8 of Mental Mix. On today's episode, we're going to be talking about why everyone isn't going to like you, because I know that everyone has had those people or that one person that just don't like you ever since you've met them. You don't know why, you don't know when it started, you don't know what you did to deserve this, but they just don't like you. And this has happened to me a bajillion times. And I've come to terms with it, and I've come to accept the fact that not everyone's going to like me, just like not everyone's going to like you in your life. That's what we're going to talk about. And before I start in advance, I want to apologize because first, I didn't make an episode for Tuesday because I'm in spring break and I have just been lazy, being completely transparent. And secondly, I worked a very long shift today, so I'm very tired. But I felt like making an episode, and yeah, but I'm not gonna let that get in the way of me making this episode. Just saying that I might sound a little bit tired. But this is a topic that comes pretty easily to me because it's very applicable to my life. As I started by saying, there's a ton of people that I can think of that have just not like me. Now, because there's so many, it might be a character flaw, but um I'll share one story in particular that okay. So starting off about 2 years ago, I joined this youth group at a church that I've been going to my whole life, and I went to this youth group briefly when I was like 12, but I left quickly. I just kind of stopped going to youth group, not for any reason in particular, just kind of stopped going. But 2 years ago, I wanted to try it again because one of my friends from church said that I should go to it, and I went to it, and it wasn't bad. It was fine. I don't go anymore, but it was fine. I went for a good while, but there was this one group of kids in the youth group that it was like a 3 groups of siblings, and they were all this friend group. And I thought, like, wow, they seem really nice. They seem very friendly. I want to become friends with them. And even though I would say I'm more of an introvert than an extrovert, but I find it easy to make friends. Like, I'm pretty good at connecting with people, no matter like who they are or how old they are. I'm pretty good at making friends. So I thought, like, I'll be able to be friends with these people, like, I'm me. And I literally swear that from the moment I first spoke to these people, they never really liked me. I could just tell by the way they were talking to me, like they weren't interested in talking to me. And the worst part is, like, it's a youth group, like it's a religious Christian youth group, so you would think like they would be accepting of me and want to talk to me and invite me to everything, because it's a church. And I just felt so terrible. And partly because it was a youth group, it made me think, like, am I not good enough? Am I not good enough for this church? Am I not good enough for this youth group because they don't want to be friends with me? Like, and the fact that it's a youth group, like, why? I don't know why I cared so much, but I just felt hurt because they did not want to be friends with me. And yeah, like, that's just one of the many examples I can think of people not wanting to be friends with me. But basically how I got over it was I just thought, well, I put myself out there. I was myself with them, and not necessarily they had anything against me, but they have no interest in being friends with me. So I'd rather not be friends with them than have them dislike me or be fake to me or whatever, So now going into what the societal norms are with this is that from a young age, we're conditioned as people to fit into the expectations of others depending on what social situation we're in. And this can just lead to us sacrificing our authenticity for it to be accepted into these groups and whatever. And that's something that naturally, instinctively, I don't know. Something that we're naturally wired to do as humans is to change or adapt depending on what situation we're in. And although this can be good to an extent, like, we don't want to do this too much where we're changing the way that we act around others. I definitely used to do this. This youth group example, I didn't really do that because I didn't really care enough to be friends with them. But when I was younger, definitely in the past, I would totally change the way I was acting in order to fit in. And that just kind of hurt me because I look back at it now and I regret that I wasn't being myself. And I 100% believe, totally believe that it is completely a myth that you can be universally likable to everyone. You will never, ever not have a hater. At least one person out there doesn't like you. Everyone has at least one person that won't like them, like, and that's completely natural. Who cares, you know? And if people don't like you, some people say that that means you're doing something right, but I don't know. They're even like, I don't know if you guys have seen this personality test. It's called 16 personalities, and it categorizes you into one of 16 personalities. Now, I'm not a psychologist. I don't know how many personalities there really are, and I don't think that I as a person don't think that people should be categorized into one of 16 personalities because humans are so much more complex than that. But it acts, it's a good baseline, to determine what people are like their general characteristics. But there are so many different and complex kinds of people that no matter who you're encountering, no matter how like niche you try to fit in with people, there will always be people who have different preferences and personalities. So this just kind of emphasizes that it's really impossible to please absolutely everyone. And it's a myth that a certain personality can universally be applicable to for any person to like you. And this just brings me to the point that it's so important to be self-aware that we're being ourselves and accepting ourselves and our own unique qualities in order to be authentic and to make sure that we're not just doing things to please others. Because as I said, like, what's the point of doing things in order to please others when you're never going to be liked by everyone, This is something that for me is just relieving in a sense. Kind of like, I'm not the only person going through this. That's number one. That's what relieves me. And number two is that since not everyone's going to like me, I can just be myself. Because even if I'm not being myself, they're still not going to like me. So what do I have to lose? The last part of this is dealing with rejection. This kind of goes back to the example of the church group, the infamous church group that hurt my feelings. A moment of silence for fallen mobsters that clearly did not care for me. But anyways, I had to learn to deal with rejection from a young age because simply being myself always got me rejected everywhere. But you know what? Being yourself is also the only thing that's going to truly open doors for you. It'll always bring you rejection, but it'll always open doors for you at the same time. Being a fake version of yourself is definitely not going to open as many doors as being a real person would. Because there's so many fake people in the world, but very few genuine ones. So it's important to have self-confidence in the face of all this criticism and all this hate from people. And think of any successful person, Think of any strong, resilient, independent, maybe wealthy, successful person, whatever you define successful as. And think of how many people they've had to accept rejection from and how they've thrived by staying true to themselves despite facing rejection from people. Power and authenticity comes from being true to yourself, even though you know that not everyone is going to like you. And I encourage you guys to accept yourselves and to love yourself as you are, just because others aren't going to do it for you. And another great thing that I've heard today was that if you're trying to learn to love yourself and appreciate yourself for who you are, that tells you that you already love yourself. Because a person that doesn't love themselves at all doesn't care to learn to love themselves, you know? But even searching for a way to love yourself shows that deep down you do love yourself because you care enough to keep learning about it, you know? And I felt like, wow, like this really shows that I do deep down care about myself. And just simply putting in the effort to put yourself out there in the face of rejection and to keep trying, even though you're tired, even though you're lazy or unmotivated, like me making this episode after 6 hours of work, which isn't really that long, but that aside, is super beneficial to us. So thank you guys for tuning into this episode. I hope you enjoyed my sleepy voice because I'm gonna knock out right now. And oh, by the way, guys, I have officially hit 100 listeners. So I really want to thank you guys for that. It's crazy because the idea for this podcast came to me on a random Tuesday. And I just thought, you know what? I'm going to start a podcast. And it's crazy that in less than a month, actually, wait, maybe exactly a month or a little bit over a month, but in about a month, I hit 100 listeners. So I really thank you guys for all of the support, all of the listens, all of the love on Mental Mix. And it's been so, so great. Even this small progress, well, 100 people isn't small, but even this progress has just shown that you can really use any kind of outlet just to put your voice out there. Stop being afraid of rejection. Like this literally Mental Mix is an example of what I'm talking about today. Like, if you're afraid of going out there because you're afraid of how people react, people are always going to have bad things to say about literally anything you do. So take this for an example. Take Mental Mix for an example. I started this on a random Tuesday, and now, special announcement, now I am officially eligible for donations on Spotify. So if you guys like this podcast, appreciate my content, like, you can make a donation from $2 to $5 or however many dollars you want to donate per month. And that just goes straight to my podcast so that I can buy better equipment and things like that just to improve it. I'm really happy that I get to do this now, and I'm really thankful for you guys again just for listening. Obviously, that's not obligated. You guys don't have to donate. I don't expect that, but it would be really helpful, and I would really appreciate it from you guys. I really appreciate all the love that I get in the comments and just from listening. So thank you guys so much for everything. Yeah, I hope you guys have liked this episode again, and I will see you next week on Mental Mix. Bye.